For Phase 4 of the Diecast Graveyard Super Huge Ginormous Build-Off, the theme is Favorite TV or Movie Vehicle. When I first heard the theme for this phase, I immediately thought of the Cyclops from the 1976 movie The Big Bus, as the Cyclops is definitely both huge and ginormous. I initially rejected the idea of doing the Cyclops as I knew it would be a time-consuming build. I thought watching the movie again would confirm that building the bus would be a fool's errand. As I watched the movie, instead of talking myself out of the idea, I began grabbing screen captures of scenes I thought would be helpful in the build. Next, I turned to the internet, certain that I would find little useful information on the vehicle. To my surprise, the DeviantArt.com site yielded a nice set of 2D drawings made by the user OrzelW, one in black and white and one in color. Further searching turned up a 1/160th scale 3D model created by a user named Small Parts on the Thingiverse.com site. If I could scale this model up to somewhere around 1/64th to 1/72nd scale, I might be able to build this beast. I quickly determined that building the bus at 1/64 scale would result in a model over 20 inches long. I decided to lower my sights just a little and shoot for a finished model with a length of 18 inches, which would be very close to 1/72nd scale and still be close enough in size to be posed with 1/64 scale Hot Wheels cars. After downloading the 1/164th scale model, I imported it into Autodesk Fusion to review and to edit it. Many hours were spent preparing and revising the model to make it suitable to print at 1/72nd scale. The original 1/164th scale model was broken down into 105 parts. After scaling the model up, most of these parts would still fit on my 3D printer. However, the 4 primary pieces of the body became too large to fit on my 3D printer, so I had to subdivide them in Fusion to get them to fit on the printer. My first prints of the large body parts were disappointing, as the model lacked sufficient internal structure to prevent warping when printed at my chosen scale. More hours were spent in Fusion creating reinforcing structures inside the body panels. Eventually, I would have my 8 primary body panels and I could begin assembly of the body while I printed the rest of the parts. The way the model was designed, all 63 of the windows had to be printed as individual parts that would need to be installed individually after the body was painted. These windows also needed to be prepped and painted. There was a lot of hand fitting of the body sections until I finally had the front and rear halves ready to paint. The body was then finished in a gloss light gray. The 63 windows were painted gloss black. The decals were drawn up using Corel Draw. After many rounds of printing, fitting, and adjusting the artwork, I was finally satisfied and ready to print on decal film. And my printer decided to start eating decal paper. After several wasted sheets, I switched to a different brand of decal paper and finally had decals I could use. Did I mention there are 8 axles and 16 wheels on this beast? The tires were printed in black resin, the Goodyear letters added with decals. The wheel hubs were printed in gray resin and their caps were painted with a chrome pen. Here's the little monster after detail painting and final assembly. This build was quite a learning experience for me on many fronts. I expanded my skills in 3D modeling and editing in Fusion. I also learned a great deal about 3D printing. By the time I'd finished with the build, I'd run nearly 1.5 kilos of resin through the printer. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this build.